Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. This is BOZEBEATS, a series that came out on Weekly Shonen Jump. It only lasted for 4 months though, unfortunately. It came out January 15, 2018, and it ended April 16, 2018. So it was very short-lived. It got the axe, and we'll get into that a little bit later. The best way to describe this series would basically be monks with guns. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm down. Like I for some reason I love that image. Like nuns with guns, monks with guns. You sold me, especially since they're fighting demons. It's like, all right, let's see where this is going. But before we get into BOZEBEATS, let's go over the one shot that started this, that predated BOZEBEATS, and that is just plain old Bozy. And the thing about the one shot is that it actually acts as a prequel to BOZEBEATS, which is pretty interesting. And I say that because there's a lot of mangas out there where they would have their pilots, their prototype series, and usually the prototype is completely different than what happens in the main run, or even if it is similar, they change things. It's different. Like there's really no connection. Sometimes you do get a connection, like Jujutsu Kaisen. The proto for that works as a prequel to the series, but then you get stuff like Naruto, where the proto for Naruto is way different than what the final product is. So yeah, this works as a prequel. And basically we have this monk. His name is Ryuudaiji. And Ryuudaiji, here he's a teenager. In the main run, he actually is an adult and he works as our main character Sensei. He's basically the Kakashi character in the main run. But in here, he's just a teenager. He's a monk, and he basically helps this young woman named Shiori who gets bitten by a vampire. And Ryuudaiji shows up, and he's a monk, but in this universe, monks have realized that in order to fight demons, they can't just rely on their old ways. They can't just rely on prayers and talismans and stuff like that. Instead, they have to embrace modern day technology. So they use Gatling guns and rocket launchers and things like that. But the Gatling guns and the rocket launchers and stuff are embedded with symbols and talismans and incantations and stuff. So it's basically like magical guns and magical grenades and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. I like the diffusion of technology into like religious, spiritual icons, and it works. So I really like this universe. He fights this vampire. He's able to scare it away, but it turns out that Shiori has been bitten by a vampire, so they're kind of worried that maybe she might turn into one. So he takes her back to the monk base, the Buddhist base, and it's pretty cool. It's basically just a regular shrine, but there's an elevator that takes them down underground, and underground is like this big giant base. So yeah, eventually he's able to kill the vampire, and he saves Shiori. She's able to go live out her regular life, and Ryuudaiji continues his journey as a monk. And like I said, it's cool because they mix technology with the spiritualness. Like you get the Gatling gun with incantations on it that can kill demons. You get like the guardian lion statues that you usually see out like in shrines and stuff like that. But these ones actually turn to life. But they're not like live lions. Instead, they're like robotic lions that can be used to fly and stuff like that. As a transportation unit. It's really weird. It's really out there, but it works for me. But yeah, there you go. There's a little one shot, and then eventually that was successful enough to get a main run. So we got BOZEBEATS. And I'm going to read the little summary here. Religious monks adapted to modern technology and weaponry to combat the threat of demons. Ryuudaiji, a monk who's on the journey to locate and purge a demon spirit that is terrorizing a forest which was notorious to be a place where people commit suicide, meets a wolf boy, Tamaki Madoka, and his wolf companion. Things start to develop between the two after an encounter with a tree demon spirit as Tamaki decides to go to the outside world to learn more about his past. So yeah, as I said before, Ryuudaiji, he's the main character in the one-shot. On here, he's a secondary character. He's basically like the teacher character. Our main character is Tamaki Madoka. But I'll get into that in a little bit. So we start off with a bit of a flashback where we have this giant, what looks like a dragon demon attacking this city. And we have all these monks in upgraded technological weaponry and stuff like that. And they basically are able to freeze this dragon and kind of put it into stasis. And then we see Tamaki. And Tamaki is injured. He's in the forest. And he has like a vision of this person. And he just remembers that they say, like, don't ever forget it, Tamaki. I know that we will certainly meet again someday. And then Tamaki passes out. And when he wakes up, he sees these two wolves. He sees an adult wolf and he sees a little wolf cub. And 6 years pass. And it turns out that these wolves have taken in Tamaki and they've raised him. So the wolf adult is Tamaki's new mother. And the wolf cub is his brother. And so we cut to a taxi cab that's driving Ryuudaiji into the woods. Because Ryuudaiji has to exorcise a bunch of demons, or I should say, he has to exorcise a bunch of souls that have committed suicide in this forest. Because if he leaves them behind, then they're going to become, demonic. They're going to become evil. They're going to start terrorizing people who are still alive. So, he goes out. He starts doing his little prayers. And while there, he gets attacked by a bear. And before he can do anything, Tamaki shows up and incapacitates the bear and tells the bear to back off. And then he starts to attack Ryuudaiji because he thinks Ryuudaiji might be friends of the quote-unquote Lord, who's the Lord of the Forest. The Lord of the Forest ends up being basically it's like this evil demon that has been taking in all the dead souls of the people that have died to get stronger and stronger. And he believes that Ryuudaiji is working for this Lord. And Ryuudaiji eventually tells him, I'm not. I'm a monk. He sees a little dog tags on Tamaki, and he tells Tamaki his name. He says, "Your name is Tamaki Madoka." And then he kind of explains what he does. He explains that he's a monk. He explains that it's his job to exorcise demons and spirits and stuff and help them pass on to the next life. And Tamaki explains, who this Lord is. And the Lord is a monster that eats souls. Everyone in the forest is afraid of him. The Lord looks really badass and kind of freaky looking. I wish I can show you interiors, but when it comes to manga and probably anime as well, Japanese publishers are very, very strict about copy striking anything that shows their artwork. That's why the only thing that I'm showing is the cover of BOZEBEATS on Weekly Shonen Jump. Because, it's a cover for the magazine. I should be able to appeal it if they copy strike me. But anytime I've shown like interiors for manga stuff, not every time, but a lot of the times I would later end up, like sometimes it'll be months later they'll copy strike me. So because of that, that's why all my manga videos don't show any interiors. For some of the older videos, you guys can still see the interiors on my alternate channels, like on BitChute and Odyssey and stuff. So anyways, he explains about the Lord and stuff like that. We see Tamaki's wolf mother. One of her legs is amputated, and that's because Tamaki and his brother were attacked by this Lord, and she fought it, but in the process, she lost her arm. And because of that, Madoka has pretty much made it his mission to kill this Lord, like to get revenge and to allow the rest of the people in the forest to live in peace. Eventually, Tamaki sees dead bears, and he realizes that the Lord has arrived. And we get a fight. We get a fight where Tamaki and his wolf brother try to fight this Lord. It easily beats Tamaki's brother. It captures Tamaki, is about to kill him when his wolf mother shows up to save him, and then the demon basically grabs the wolf mother and smashes her and kills her. So Tamaki gets pissed off. Thankfully, Ryuudaiji shows up with his giant Gatling gun, which again, I wish I can show you these panels because they're so good. The artwork in this series is amazing. It's not the greatest manga artwork I've ever seen, but it's pretty top tier. It's pretty good. Like I really like it. I think it does a really good job. So if nothing else, then I think the artist, who's also the writer, his name is Hirano Ryuuji. If he fails at a writer, he can easily work as an artist. His artwork is freaking great. I love it. But yeah, he's able to use his Ryuudaiji is able to use his Gatling gun to shoot the crap out of this creature and basically expel it. And then seeing his dead mother, Tamaki unleashes like this power. It causes all the evil souls in the area to disperse, and they all get sucked in and gathered into this child. So Tamaki takes in like all the spirits, and Ryuudaiji basically calls upon the guardian beast to calm the soul of the boy. And he realizes that there's a lot of power in this kid. And he not only does this kid have a lot of power, but this kid also has a lot of questions. He doesn't know anything about his past. He doesn't know anything before waking up and being taken in by the wolves. So Ryuudaiji decides to make a deal with him. Like, hey, you come with me. You become like a monk like me, a BOZEBEAT, I think is what they're called. Yeah, you become one of us. You help us. And in return, we can help you try to find your memories. And later on, Tamaki discovers that any demon that he kills, like he can kind of touch them, like their soul, their essence, before they disappear. And he can get brief memories of them. So he can try to use this to exorcise the demons that are in Tokyo and stuff, and see if he can find one that has glimpses of memories where Tamaki is in them, so he can piece them together. So this is like a win-win situation for both people. Ryuudaiji gets a strong protege, and Tamaki gets to possibly discover his past. And so we're later introduced to one of the other characters. His name is Ryuuichi, and we pretty much get the cliche team of main character who's a boy, has a sidekick, or not a sidekick, he has a teammate who's a boy, and then we get another teammate who's a girl, and then they get their quirky teacher. Only Ryuudaiji is not necessarily quirky, he's more like a serious teacher, but you get the cliche team up that you see in pretty much every shonen series, especially Weekly Shonen Jump, where you have the teacher and then you have the 3 students, and so usually 2 boys, 1 girl. So we get that. The interesting thing is that Ryuuichi isn't the cliche emo kid who's really put off by Tamaki, but then later grows to respect him, that we see in a bunch of other shonen series. So that was pretty interesting. In fact, Ryuuichi is more of the comedic relief character. But yeah, Tamaki shows up, and I believe this is like months later. I want to say 6-8 months later, and Tamaki is now a monk. And here's where this series kind of hurts itself. The best way to describe this series is it's a series that's too fast for its own good. So we're introduced to Tamaki in the very first chapter, and by the end of the very first chapter, he's already a monk and he's already powerful. In fact, he's already stronger than his teammates, and he is not on par with Ryuudaiji, but he can hold his own against demons. So we don't get any of the earlier struggles, really, in a sense. Every demon he comes across, he's able to pretty much defeat somewhat easily. So that's where the series kind of hurts itself, is that, like I said, it goes too fast for its own good. It skips things. We're already jumping right into big events and stuff like that. Like we already see Tamaki start putting pieces of his life together within the very first few chapters. He doesn't get his answer, but he gets pieces of it pretty quickly. And like I said, he's already powerful. He's tough. He's able to take on demons single-handedly. So it kind of fails in that regard. The pacing is too off. And I don't really know if I want to put that on the writer, because yeah, it is a writing issue, but this is where the editor should step in and correct the writer and help them slow down their series. I don't know if the editor was just taking a nap and just kind of allowed the writer to do what he wanted to do. But yeah, at this point, the editor should have stepped in and be like, hey, you're going way too fast. You're basically running the gambit of shonen arcs in a few chapters. Like we get multiple arcs of the series in a few chapters. It almost feels like after the very first issue, It almost feels like the Weekly Shonen Jump came up to the writer and said, hey, your series is getting axed, but we're going to give you 13 more chapters to complete your story. And so the writer is like, all right, I'm going to put every single arc and story beat that I wanted, and I'm going to shove them all into 13 issues. That's basically what it feels like. I'm not saying that's what happened because obviously it didn't, but that's what it feels like. For anyone out there, you know when a series gets axed, a manga series gets axed, and then they got to kind of wrap everything up in 1 or 2 chapters. Picture that pacing, but from the get-go. And that's why this series ultimately, I believe, failed. Is that everything happens way too fast. There's no breather. There's no moment where Tamaki is able to slowly grow and learn about the universe and slowly get powerful. Like, he maybe takes on a couple of demons and he needs help, and then slowly he has to get stronger and stronger. Or maybe he's able to take on some of these demons, but they're very low level, and so he gets kind of cocky, and then he comes across one he's not ready for, and they easily beat him or whatever, and then he realizes he needs more help. You get stuff like that you see in other shonens. You don't get that here. Here, it's basically he's great from the get-go, and while he might have some struggles, it's really nothing too serious. And so, yeah, everything is too fast. And it's a shame, because like I said, this series has a lot of promise. I've always loved demon hunting, monster hunting stories. I've said this before, but it's like my favorite genre. My favorite genre is where you get characters and they go out and they hunt demons, they hunt monsters. It's just something that always appealed to me. So you got that. And then you got monks with guns. You got monks using technology. It's like a mix of technology with magic. And I'm like, oh man, that's so badass. Like, this is like basically monks with magic tech fighting demons in a modern day setting. This is so cool. So the universe itself is so awesome. But yeah, it fails in the fact that it's basically a manga series on crack. Like, everything happens too fast, and we're just going through things left and right, and there's no time to really take in and appreciate everything. There's no time for characters to grow because they're already jumping onto the next thing, and that's where BOZEBEATS fails. And I believe, in my opinion, that's probably why it got the axe. It's probably why it didn't get the viewership that's Weekly Shonen Jump was hoping to get, is the fact that it's too fast. It's like watching someone playing. Say you want to watch someone play a video game, and you wanna take in the story as well. This is a game you've never seen before. It has a good narrative, and you want to appreciate the story as well. But it's on the system you don't have, so you're watching someone do a let's play of it or a playthrough of it. But instead of allowing you to watch the cutscenes and stuff like that, they're basically speed running the game. So it'll be like you're watching Elden Ring recently came out. It'd be like you want to see how Elden Ring is, and you see someone speed run it in like an hour or two, and it's like you can't really fully appreciate the game. You can't fully experience exploring and discovering new things and seeing all the crazy and unique characters out there and the bosses and their personalities and reading the different items so you can know the lore and piece things together. You're just getting speed run through the whole thing, and then it ends, and you're like, okay, I got some of what this game is about, but I couldn't fully appreciate it because the player just sped run through it. That's what this series is like. The series is basically a speed run of a shonen story, where everything just happens too fast. And it's a shame because, like I said, the premise is awesome. The story itself is cool. I like the characters. Some people might not like the characters. I like the characters. I've seen other series with better characters, but Tamaki's not like an annoying character. He could be done a little bit better, though. I would have definitely played up the fact that he was raised by wolves a bit more. He comes across as someone like, even in Tokyo, he kind of doesn't really understand certain things, but it's not like Genji from Chainsaw Man, for example. Genji grew up poor. He never really lived in the city. So when he finally gets brought into the city, he's pretty naive. Like, things are new to him. He doesn't really understand certain things. And just like little things, just like normal food is like gourmet to him because he's not used to it. I would have liked to see some of that in this, because this is a kid who from like 6 years of age or so was raised by wolves. Like he spent 6 years in the wood of his childhood in the woods being raised by wolves. So you would think that it'll take him a while to adapt to the city, but he nails it pretty quickly. At least pretty quickly in terms of someone who was raised by wolves. So yeah, that's kind of like a shame. You know, you could have played that up a bit more. You could have had some comedic moments as well as maybe some dramatic moments where things don't really, make sense to him. Like to him, he lived in the survival of the fittest kind of world, but you can't live that kind of world in the city because you live in a society. So that could have been a nice balance where he's trying to not only rediscover his memories, but also try to adapt to living in this new environment. But you don't really play that up in this series. But yeah, like I said, the characters are okay. They could have been better, as I just said, but they're okay. They're not like annoying or anything like that. Story and premise is great. Well, premise is great. Story needs to be slowed down drastically. Artwork is fantastic. Like this has all the makings of a great series, and it gets destroyed by the pacing. The pacing is what killed it. It needed to slow down. It needed to breathe. You needed to build things up and not speed run through it. And if they had done that, I believe that BOZEBEATS would have still been around today. I think it has the makings to be that good. It has the makings to hang with the big three and stuff. I wouldn't say it'll be up there with the big three, but it can hang out, in its shadows and stuff. It's that good, or it has the promise of being that good. But unfortunately, yeah, it was too fast for its own good, and because of that, it failed, and it only lasted for 4 months. But yeah, I would say if you have some time to kill, you can binge read this in a day. You can binge read this in half a day. It's 14 chapters, and thankfully you get closure. Like I said, it's fast paced and it does get acts, but you get your closure. Like everything kind of gets wrapped up. Again, it's rushed. It's even rushed compared to everything else that gets rushed in this series. But at least you're not left hanging or wondering, what happened, what's going on. You get your closure. So yeah, there you go. There's BOZEBEATS. That's a shame. It could have been so good. Like the artwork is great. Story and premise is great. Story has potential to be great, but it's too fast for its own good, and that was its failure in the end. But there you go, BOZEBEATS. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys got any recommendations for manga, let me know. I hope to see you next time. Take care, everybody. Later. So what'd you guys think of that video? Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that bell for a notification, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't enjoy the video, thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next video is more to your liking. Feel free to check out the playlist that you guys see, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.